Recently, some members of my Twitch community have approached me after they have completed Baldur's Gate 3, asking whether or not Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 would be worth their time. And of course, I'm going to say yes, go play them. I mean, like, I'm an old man who still has his copy that was released back in 1998, as well as just a lover of Forgotten Realms lore. I can't recommend the old games enough to get more immersed in the world that they were introduced to in Baldur's Gate 3. And luckily enough, anybody looking to get into Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 can thank a company called Beamdog for re-releasing Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 in an enhanced edition that works perfectly fine on modern machines as well as on consoles, which helps mitigate the arduous task of trying to install a game from the 90s on a modern machine and get it running and working all of the bugs out and having to patch things in order to be compatible. Beamdog's enhanced edition versions of Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 work right out of the box. Hell, games don't even fucking come in boxes anymore. What the fuck am I talking about? Go on Steam, download them, go on GOG, download them. Whatever your preferred platform is, these games are worth it in my opinion. But recommending Baldur's Gate 1 and 2 doesn't come without its problems, right? Like, these are old games. The rule set is an advanced D&D or 2nd edition instead of the 5th edition D&D that was introduced to most players in Baldur's Gate 3. And so as a request from some of the members of my community, they asked like, hey, could you do like a quick start guide? Like explain a few things and maybe kind of point us in the right direction to get the game running. So that's what we're gonna do today. We're just gonna start from the beginning. We're gonna start from scratch. And I'm also gonna point out for all of you new players, some hidden things that might help out your start and maybe get you a little boost in power. So let's get into the guide. And if you're new here, I'm Micromanager. I'm a variety content creator and I also stream over on Twitch 4 days a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday, starting at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Would love to have you come on over. But be warned, if you friend me on Steam, you're gonna get notifications of me playing not safe for work video games at about 2 o'clock in the morning. We'll just keep it simple, stupid. We're gonna keep it human, fighter. Now, here's the thing that was left out of Baldur's Gate 3 that I wish was implemented. Some people argue that people would abuse it. I say if people want to abuse it, let them. If they don't want to, it's all fair, it's all good. But you go into the ability score and this is your initial roll. Our initial roll here being a total roll of 76, which is the total of our ability scores added up. In Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, you are allowed to re-roll your stats. So right here, we have a total of 76. That's really not good. So we can hit re-roll. We've got 78, still not good. We can continue to re-roll and we can hit re-roll a couple of times. I just missed an 82, there's an 81, and you just keep re-rolling these. Sometimes you're gonna get better rolls, like here's an 83. And as a fighter, you could probably stick with 83. So here's my recommendation. You go ahead and you zero everything out at 10 because 10 is the average Joe character in the world of the Forgotten Realms, at least as of the advanced D&D 2nd edition. When it comes to your average fighter, your intelligence, your wisdom, these are going to be dump stats. Now, a lot of people will say that charisma is a dump stat. Generally, yes. There's only a couple instances really within the game where charisma is really going to affect your gameplay. And that's going to be like, if you have a charisma of 18, there's going to be certain characters that are going to react to you with a slightly better reward for finishing the quest than had you had a score of 17 or below. On the other side of that, charisma will affect your purchase prices from vendors. So the higher your charisma, the more gold you're going to get when selling items and the cheaper that the items are going to be when you're buying from them. Now, your general fighter, that right there, okay, so that might need some explanation. 18 over 100. This is going to be the highest attack damage that you can do and will give you the highest bonus on your damage rolls possible. Dexterity, just like in Baldur's Gate 3, is going to affect your base armor class, and Constitution is going to dictate your base hit points. So these are both important stats to worry about. I mean, like, you could max this, you could max all of these out. Honestly, this right here, this is a solid fighter to begin with. But all in all, if you're able to achieve this with a fighter class on your first playthrough, you're gonna have a pretty easygoing time. It shouldn't be too difficult. But of course, you can just adjust the difficulty to your liking, and this won't matter as much. And then once you've done selecting your ability scores, you can then go in here. This is your proficiency slot. So this is just where you're gonna pick your weapon proficiencies. Pick what you want. There's a couple decent magical items in each one of these categories. The weakest of the bunch, at least in Baldur's Gate 1, is going to be the Scimitar, Wakizashi, and Ninjato. But just for simplicity's sake, we can pick, we can put 2 in Bastard Sword, and then we can put 2 in Long Sword, which will basically give you the majority. This will get you a majority through the game. You're not going to really struggle with picking these as proficiencies, especially as a new player. You're just trying to get your feet wet. And of course, picking our appearance, we don't care. Voice, pick whichever one you want, and you're good to go. Pick a name. We're just going to call this, we're just going to call him Derpy because, like, why not? And then we're going to get into the game. And also, before we get started, don't forget, like I said, you can pick your difficulty. If you just want to experience the story and you're not worried about a challenge, story mode is the way to go. Don't feel shame in it. Don't let people go, oh, you played it in story. Tell them to shut the fuck up. Enjoy the game. Play it how you like. But for the sake of today, we're just going to go ahead and get started on the normal setting. This is what it's going to be set at as default, and then we're going to get started. After a short intro, you're going to be brought to this screen. Very simple. Now, one of the first things I'm going to tell you to do, stop what you're doing, hit the escape key. This is going to save you some time. Go to gameplay. Go to auto pause. This auto pause feature right here, initially it's going to have center on party member when an auto pause is initiated. I usually leave this on. Some people leave it off. And then also initially what is on here is weapon unusable, which would trigger when fighting, say, a phantom-like creature that can't be hit by non-magical weapons. Or your bow has run out of ammunition. It's not just like a magical quiver that they're pulling arrows out of their ass, like they are in Baldur's Gate 3. And you'll also want to make sure that you have enemy sighted turned on. That'll pause the game and issue your commands at that point. You will also want trap found set. I can't tell you how many times, and anybody playing Baldur's Gate 3 has already experienced this. You'll find a trap and then one of your party members just stumbles into it anyway, like, oh, there's a trap. Fuck it. And then they blow off a limb. Thankfully, we've got the auto pause feature, which will pause the gameplay. Your characters will stop the second one of them detects a trap. And that's all I really have to say about auto pause, but I do want to say one thing. There is the ability mid-game to just manually pause by hitting the space bar. But one of the first things you're going to want to do, talk to Firebeard here. He's going to give you a quest, but then you can sit here and talk to him an additional 29 times. So that's, the first one was 1, 2, 3,
4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Later.
27, 28, 29, and on the 30th time, we just received, I don't know if you can see this, 300 gold. I don't know if this is an intentional bug, if this was built in for debug purposes, but 300 gold is 300 gold. Take it. You can talk to Winthrop. Go ahead and come over here. Now, one of the things that I want to tell you, this is going to be a quick start guide. I'm only going to show you so much. I'm going to let you do the exploring. I'm going to let you do all of the conversations. But what I will say is right now, buy a stock of crossbow bolts. Don't ask why, you'll see in just a little bit. And then of course, buy yourself some armor and preferably a weapon that you're proficient in if you can afford to, which you should be able to now that you have 300 starting gold. So I'm going to buy myself a bastard sword, and I'm also going to buy myself a large shield. Now, I do want to show this real quick. Armor class in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2, being as is based off of 2nd edition D&D, negative armor class is better. As you can see, my base armor class is 6. I'm getting a -3 from my dexterity, another -1 from the large shield, and of course, missile attacks are getting an additional -1 because of the large shield. This is going to bring my armor class lower. So an armor class of 0, and this is where the term to hit armor class 0 kind of comes into effect. But again, you're not going to want to focus on that too much. Just pay attention. The lower the number, the better. And eventually this can become a negative number, which is fantastic. Before we continue on, I would like to point out one little thing. Now, in Baldur's Gate 3, you might have known that pressing F5 will save your game. You can do the same here by pressing Q. You just press Q. Quick save successful. You're going to want to be pressing this a lot. If you thought you pressed quick save a lot in Baldur's Gate 3, you're going to want to press this twice as much in Baldur's Gate 1 and 2. Because sometimes bad things just happen. Generally, most people are gonna look at this. For some reason, the natural way of going around this map in most people's brains is going to be going clockwise around the map. But to save yourself some time, to save yourself some walking, go around the map counterclockwise and interact with people in the counterclockwise fashion around the map. This will simplify any of the walking around. This will simplify many of the quests that you do, because you will be able to initiate the quests in a backwards order, but like I said, it'll reduce the amount of backtracking that you're doing. So, I will say, one of the reasons that I said to grab the crossbow bolts is because you're going to come here, you're going to talk to this gentleman, he's going to say something, you're going to ask him if you have any errands to run, he's going to say yes, he's going to want some crossbow bolts. So now you know why I asked you to grab those crossbow bolts. I have already grabbed this, but you can grab the sword and the antidote vial from this chest. Now, you go in here, there's a little bit of a quest thing. Quick save before entering, that's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to spoil it for you. And of course, in this chest is going to be a little bit more gold. Now, coming around the corner here, this guy's going to approach us. He's going to ask us to do something. I am not going to do what he wants, but feel free to follow him on his quest. He'll introduce you to some events down here in this building and move forward. Another thing that you might want to do, starting out, simple, easy peasy, is to just come in here, speak to this cleric, the priest of Ogma. He's basically just going to say, hey, would you like a potion? You just say yes, and he gives you a free healing potion. There it is, a free potion of healing. And of course, then you're going to want to go talk to this fella. He's going to tell you the thing, because you grabbed the stuff from the chest, you finished his quest, and so on and so forth. Just go around in a counterclockwise fashion, speaking to everybody, and in doing so, and I'll stop there. I don't want to spoil anything else from you. In the town, there's a lot of cool little events and a lot of cool things that just happen. Of course, here's our childhood friend Imoen, who wants to speak to us. However you handle this dialogue is however you want to handle it. So when you're finally done in Candlekeep, come here to the central area just inside the inner walls to the actual keep. What you're going to want to do is speak to your character's foster father, Garayan. Talk, just tell him that you're ready to go, and you will be presented with another short scene, which I will not spoil here. And of course, after the events happen, you're going to have Imoen. She's going to join your party. And now you're off on your little adventure. And now I'm just going to show you a couple of quick start things to get you moving, and some hidden items that might be worth your time to really empower you on your future journeys. After Imoen has joined you, feel free to explore the map and see what's around. There's some encounters that you can do. Again, I highly recommend quick saving, because even some of the most seemingly mundane monsters can pretty much kill you rather easily. So instead of having that happen to you, just quick save and maybe come back to that area of the map later on. You're gonna come up and you're gonna approach these people. Now, granted, you can choose to keep them in your party. I don't recommend keeping them in your party for very long, but you can say, you know, yep, I'm grateful for your assistance. I'll give you a potion. I do highly recommend taking them along at least early on, because it will ease the pain of some of the encounters that you're going to come across. But I do want to point out one thing that isn't made clear, and that is every bit of experience points that you get is actually going to be split amongst the party. So whenever you gain experience points, say you gain 100 experience points, if you have 4 members in your party, they're each only going to gain 25 experience points. Now, one thing I do want to point out why quick saving is so important. If your main character reaches the 0 hit points, it is a game over. There is no take the character to a temple to be resurrected. If your main character reaches 0 hit points, that is a game over. Now, after you have picked up these 2 lovely characters, which you might start to realize that they are bad news. Oh, and speaking of which, auto pause just triggered, and we have ourselves our first encounter, which we'll just deal with on pause. We'll issue our commands. Everybody gets to do their attacks. We unpause and we watch the action unfold. Now, like I said, even just the simple wolf can be very detrimental to your health. One thing I also want to point out Each of these characters has a customized script, so they will automatically attack enemies, use special abilities and other stuff. I prefer, personally, to set each one of these characters' scripts to none. I want to have full control over this. If you do not do this, your spellcasting characters may most likely cast a spell without you wanting to, thus burning a spell on an enemy that it didn't really need. You could burn a high-level spell on a very low-level character. Turning off the AI, I highly recommend if you want full total control. The scripted AI is okay. I'm just not a huge fan of it. You may find yourself that you're not a fan of it as well. So go over here to the record, you click record, you go to each one of the characters' profiles, you click customize, script, and just remove it. And just select none, which should help with that. Now, one of the biggest tips that I can give you, tab will highlight items on the map. So if there's an item on the ground, it'll highlight it. If there's a stash, it'll highlight it. The reason I say this is because just north of where you picked up these two, you can hold the tab button and you will see not only our character's hit points come up, but there is a very faint little dot right there. This right here is one of the hidden stashes that's early on. This will net you 1 diamond. That's going to net you another 500 gold. Now after this, like I said, feel free to explore the map and make sure to quick save and then move on to the secondary map, which will also have an event, which I will not spoil for you. Just after coming onto this map, if we look at the world map, if we are just on our second map here, just north, you hold tab, you're going to find yet another hidden item right there. And this is a ring. This item here, we're just going to slide it on over and give it to Imoen. She has an armor class of 6, and as we slide this on, you're going to see her armor class is now 5, getting a -1 from armor class. This is a ring of protection, which will help lower some armor class. Now, after all is said and done, feel free, like I said, to explore this map and then proceed to the Friendly Arm Inn. Now, once you reach the Friendly Arm Inn map, you're going to want to head immediately to the east, because we are going to yet again find one hidden item, and it is going to be right here it's going to be right below this little evergreen tree. You can see it highlighting when I press tab, and there is another ring. Now this ring is very, very special because it increases the amount of level 1 spells that you can cast per day. Being able to cast more spells will always be great. And then after you are done at the Friendly Arm Inn, maybe you purchased some equipment, you're going to want to travel south, and you're going to travel south through a town called Baragost. Some of these characters are starting to become tired, which is normal. So what you're going to want to do, you're going to need to rest. Now resting is of course going to recover spells, is going to recover hit points. Always quick save before the long rest, because you can and will get interrupted in the middle of the night by combat. It happens frequently, and sometimes that combat goes horribly. So quick save before you rest. You can still rest at inns, but that costs money. Case in point right there, we got attacked by gibberlings in the middle of the night. Quick save again, try to sleep, hopefully you don't get into combat. There you go, we're fully rested, we have our spells should be back, and we're ready to continue on our adventure. And once you have reached the town of Nashkel, which is right here, you started here, you went up, you went south, you've now reached the town of Nashkel. What you're gonna want to do, right out the gate, travel right down here, continue south to find one of the best armors in the game. You entered here, you just walk down south to this very first farm field on the west side of the map. You press tab once again, and you will see right down here another one of those little stashes. In this little hole, we will have a pearl, which will sell for a decent amount of money, and the Ankeg plate mail. Now, if you were to go into your inventory and you look up, check out this Ankeg plate mail, the great thing is that this isn't magical. This is a naturally powerful armor. As you can see, when we equip this, we now have a -4 armor class. Now, I want to be very clear on why I said that this isn't magical armor. If this were a magical plate mail that was giving a magical bonus to the armor class, we would not be able to continue to wear our Ring of Protection +1 because they do not stack. So if you have a Ring of Protection +1 and a Protection Amulet that also gives +1, you can't equip them. It will not let you. But because of this armor, we now have a significant armor class which will allow us to get through pretty much the late part of the game. With that being said, that's all there is to it. If you have any other questions regarding the game, feel free to ask me in the comments. I do not mind responding to comments. In fact, I like to engage with my community. And you can also check out my Twitch streams over on twitch.tv/micromanager every Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, and Friday, where I'm playing role-playing games, turn-based strategy, point-and-click adventures, and of course, some survival crafting games. And until next time, stay weird, stay awesome, and I'll see you nerds in the next one.